Welcome back, everybody, to another arsonist getting smoked from here to Kingdom Come episode of Lockdown 23 and 1. That's right, today the defendant is actually an inmate. The crimes that he's going to be sentenced for today happened while he was in prison. Seems like he was a bit salty on his sentencing and decided he wanted to get revenge on people who had a part in him going to prison. So let's get right into it, ladies and gentlemen. If you're new to the channel and enjoy all things lockup and crime related, then this is where you want to be. Hit that like, subscribe, notification bell before you leave, and check out my beautifully assorted playlist with many more videos for you to start watching today.
Mr. Smink plotted to kill me and several other public officials involved in the administration of criminal justice because he was charged and went to prison for committing an arson in Cumberland County.
But it says here in an article from 2014 that the former owner of a bowling alley in southern New Jersey has admitted he orchestrated the arson fire that destroyed a rival alley 4 years ago. Stephen Smink of Philadelphia pleaded guilty Friday to a charge of arson for hire. The plea came just days before he was due to stand trial on numerous charges stemming from the fire that destroyed Loyal Lanes in Vinland. He was eventually sentenced to 15 years in prison. And 15 years at the age that he was when he got arrested, which I believe he was in like his 50s, that's kind of pretty much like a life sentence. A lot of people, they only make it till about 70 these days. So going into prison at that age with a 15-year clip, yeah, if I were to guess, would make many people salty. But most people, they go to prison, they start doing their time, they cope with what happened. There's no going back. Just move forward and try to get out and experience life a little bit more once again in the free world, right? But this guy, he was so salty to the point where he planned to kill everybody who had a play in him going to prison for the most part, right? So in his eyes, like I said, he probably didn't care if he got caught up or not. He's already probably gonna die in prison to begin with.
Hired a hitman, or who he believed to be a hitman, to carry out an extended list of individuals he believed had wronged them. There are 5 named individuals within the indictment who were prosecutors and judges. When he was in conversation with the individual he believed to be the hitman, he was very clear to the hitman that he had no concerns if there were collateral damage. For lack of a better word, he said, quote, "Whatever happened, happened." And so This defendant was very clear with a man that he believed killed people for a living, that he did not care who else was killed during the course of these crimes. He wanted his revenge plot carried out, and he did not care who else was taken down with that.
Bobby, you know what time it is when these arsonists try to play revenge games. Cue every single tank we got. The arsonist is about to be smoked out to the max if I were to guess. Public officials? Hitmen? Yeah, game over. Okay, first and foremost, it's a hit on judges, attorneys, and stuff like that. Second of all, he said he didn't care about collateral damage, if I were to guess, meaning children, women, stuff like that. It didn't matter, as long as the targets were taken out. This guy, if he doesn't get life, I will be completely shocked. Like I said, Bobby Q every tank we got. This guy's about to get cooked.
In 2019, the OHSP had received a handwritten letter from Andrew Penna regarding a murder for hire plot orchestrated by his cellmate, defendant Smink. On March 29, 2019, OHSP detectives in New Jersey Department of Corrections Special Investigation Division, investigator Brian Bostic, conducted a formal interview with Penna at Northern State Prison. During the interview, Penna indicated they'd become cellmates with defendant Smink in 2016. At that time, defendant Smink was actively soliciting other inmates to murder or extort a list of about 20 people. Specifically, Penna informed interviewers of specific judges and prosecutors that were being targeted to be murdered.
Looky here, we got ourselves a little cellmate informant. I'm here to tell you it happens all the time, especially with high profile cases or people trying to do some seriously heinous stuff like this guy. They said that he was inside the prison cell block soliciting to other inmates trying to get these judges and prosecutors killed. Right? And his cellmate probably eventually said, you know what, I'm gonna play along with this. I'm gonna get a nice time cut when I break everything down to the detectives. I don't know if that's how it went down, but I bet my house on it. I'm here to tell you, man, inmates will pull some stunts, some scams, some spams to get some food, money, drugs, or an early release from prison. I've seen many people get told on for those type of things. Whether it's an extra tray or a couple years off your sentence, man, it doesn't matter. If it's something the detectives need, and these inmates know exactly what the detectives need, trust me. Something like this, man, this was like a golden nugget to the cellmate. Judges and prosecutors killed? Yeah, bro, I got you. Let's do this. His fingertips were sweating ready to call that hotline detective number. He was seeing Big Macs, Wendy's, and freedom all at once. else. But what blows my mind about all this is he's salty to everybody in the situation that sent him to prison, but he took a plea agreement.
Subsequent investigation determined all those individuals being targeted to be murdered were involved in the prosecution of defendant Smink's arson case in the Superior Court of New Jersey Law Division Criminal Part in Cumberland County. Defendant had pleaded guilty to arson or aggravated arson and conspiracy to commit aggravated arson, and defendant was sentenced to an aggregate sentence of 15 years incarceration in the New Jersey State Prison. There's probably merger, subject to the No Early Release Act's 85% period of parole eligibility and 5-year period of parole supervision. Prosecutor Jennifer Webb McRae was the Cumberland County prosecutor at the time. First Assistant Prosecutor Harold Shapiro was the first assistant that handled the sentencing. Assistant Prosecutor John Jesperson handled the prosecution. Judge Robert Malstein was the judge that imposed the sentence. And Judge Robert Becker had handled motions and was involved in the case. This was a plea agreement. He agreed to plead guilty. And in order to do that, you have to have knowingly, voluntarily, intelligently waive your rights, and you have to voluntarily place everything on record. You're totally aware of what you're going to get at sentencing most times, and he was upset about that. So defendant blamed the victims as the reason that he was incarcerated for such a lengthy period of time and came up with a plan to have them killed.
And yes, this is the same guy. I just been showing you a photo of him from 2014. Doesn't seem like he's aging too well in prison.
Judge, I haven't learned the facts of this case. I didn't want to know because I want to be able to have some semblance of sleep at night. So I'm hearing things that I hadn't heard before today.
I understand why she's probably losing some sleep and don't want to know the facts of the case, because it was a hit on her and other people. That could definitely make me lose a little sleep knowing someone's plotting to kill me.
As a prosecutor who had a previous life representing criminal defendants, I always look for whether defendants we encounter have insight, whether they show remorse, and whether they can be rehabilitated. I would respectfully submit to you that Mr. Smink has demonstrated through his actions that he cannot be safely rehabilitated. Even when he took responsibility for his actions by way of a plea, he was so aggrieved that he sought to kill and maim those who simply swore an oath to support the Constitution and administer justice fairly. Even when he took a plea, he continued to attempt to gather others to engage in further criminal activity. And because Mr. Smink has demonstrated and proven proclivity to act upon his agreements for his personal gain, I'm asking you to sentence him to the maximum sentence that is possible. It will make me sleep better at night knowing that Mr. Smink is not out in the community fomenting plans of revenge due to his failure to take responsibility for his actions and his lack of insight. As Cumberland County prosecutor, I know I signed up for my job. As the front-facing symbol of my office, it could be argued that I knew the risk when I did. But Judge, my family, my neighbors, my church family did not. And when they read that someone was arrested in a plot to kill me, they feel a little less safe spending time in spaces where I'm.
Yeah.
In addition to that, there are several thousands of young people who I encourage and who want to go into public service as assistant prosecutors, and others who dream of one day becoming Superior Court judges, who need to know that when someone does what Mr. Smink has been proven to have been done by a jury of his peers, that the court will sentence him to the most serious of penalties to specifically deter him, but as importantly, to deter others from attempting to disrupt or dismantle the fair and just administration of the law.
Yep, and she's absolutely right. And I could see her being a Superior Court judge, for sure. But look, there's countries all around us where, they're literally being ran by other organizations, and ain't even the government really running too much things anymore out of fear of hitmen, stuff like that. So, yeah, we definitely can't allow anything like that to fly over here in the States. Just my 2 cents, man. This dude needs to get the full arm of the law.
No one should fear entering our noble profession. It is for that reason that I humbly ask you that you sentence Mr. Stephen Smink to the maximum sentence possible under the law.
I'll abstain this time.
So you're going to decline to speak?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Wow, he declined to speak, and typically people who do that, they're probably going to try to appeal it. Because any word you say can be used against you in the next process, right? So it's best just to shut your mouth. Can't go apologizing for nothing if you're going to appeal it and try to beat it then. If so, then the judges say, sir, you apologize for everything in the first run, man. You did it. Just want to give you all a little view on why some people choose not to speak.
Plotted over the course of years to purposely murder the victims in retaliation for his being convicted and sentenced for an arson case in Cumberland County. Defendant set the plot in motion. Defendant transferred a large amount of memorabilia, guns, and a motorcycle as payment for the plot. Defendant reviewed the manner in which they killed the victims with the Russian hitman, purported Russian hitman. Defendant wanted the murders done, whether at a party or through other means, heinous means. The facts and circumstances mandate consecutive sentences. It cannot be understated that defendant committed all the crimes while incarcerated and actually serving a sentence for another case, aggravated arson. Consecutive sentences are not an abuse of discretion when separate crimes involve separate victims, separate acts of violence, or occur at separate times, State v. Roach. As such, the court must impose consecutive sentences for each attempted murder count, 19 years consecutively on counts 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 for an aggregate term of 95 years.
Wow.
The aggregate period of parole and eligibility, which would be 85% under the Early Release Act, I believe is approximately 80 years, 9 months. There are few crimes more serious than attempted murder, especially multiple victims, and especially in retaliation for defendants being convicted and sentenced for another crime. Here, aggravated arson.
Man, it feels good to be in this room, not doing 95 years in prison. Shoot, old man ain't never gonna see green grass on the streets again. I mean, what do you expect, man? Plotting to kill judges and prosecutors, stuff like that, man. Guaranteed, Smokeville. 100%. They're gonna be screening all his mail, phone calls, and everything to the max until he passes away. You think he was salty with the 15? I mean, what do you think he's gonna try to do with 95? Lay it down? I doubt it. But I'm out of here, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you enjoyed today's episode and learned a few things like, you can't go plotting to take out judges and prosecutors. If so, chances are you'll get 95 years in prison, just like old Mr. Smink. It's crazy to think, though, that it was all behind a rival bowling alley. He probably went in there one day and seen that they had the best top-of-the-line arcade panels. The first bowling alley in town to have glow light-up lanes. His ain't got none of that shit, right? He said, I gotta burn this thing to the ground now or else I'm done for. I don't know. It's just crazy to think. I put myself in everybody's shoes and kind of play it out like a novel. Any rivals of mine out there, please look, man. Just move on with life. You ain't got to report my videos or nothing like that. But I'm out here, ladies and gentlemen. If you're new to the channel and enjoy all things lockup and crime related, then this is absolutely where you need to be. Hit that like, subscribe, notification bell before you leave. And more importantly than anything, y'all be easy, be safe, and stay free.